I'm Matthew Schroyer. Usually you'll find me here wrenching on cars, but recently I had the opportunity to travel abroad to tick off some Gearhead bucket list items like driving the Nürburgring in Germany. But there's much more than just the Nürburgring in Europe, so stick around and I hope you'll enjoy this video of some other interesting sites in Germany and Denmark. So if you haven't seen my Nürburgring video yet and are thinking about having a weekend at this historic racetrack, I recommend checking out that video to learn more of what it's all about. It might sound strange, but I really wanted to check out a German automotive shop on my trip, and specifically a German shop that works on BMW engines. So my first stop after the Nürburgring was at H2 Motors in Overath, which is just a short drive from Cologne. H2 originally started as a two-man workshop in 2009 with Hermann Huber and his father, Robert, breaking down BMWs and salvaging good parts. The business evolved to apply its intimate knowledge of engine internals into car maintenance, and by 2014, H2 Motors had expanded their operations to Overath, taking in BMWs from all around the country and indeed all across Europe. Hermann was kind enough to take time out to show me around the shop, and I was seriously impressed by a number of things, having been around all kinds of shops. In the States, H2 was especially well organized, with a large assortment of remanufactured cylinder heads at the ready. Now, BMW engines, well, they tend to run warmer compared to other engines, or at least that's what the lower is, which means that they can run very efficiently, but it does mean that cooling system maintenance is more frequent than on other cars. And if the cooling system is not doing its job, the car may need a cylinder head in short order. So having these kinds of parts at the ready makes for a successful, efficient shop. Now, it's not just cylinder heads they keep ready in large number, but also, rotating assemblies and ancillaries as well. I've really never seen anything like it. It's great. And as one would expect of any BMW shop, there is a nice cross-section of cars on the lot. H2 Motors have serviced a large number of diesel BMWs, but has noticed that its customers are getting rid of their diesel cars in the wake of Volkswagen's diesel emission scandal. Diesel cars or no diesel cars, H2 Motors continues providing its unique expertise to customers, and even customers with some high-performance models. After returning to Cologne from Overath, I hopped on Germany's 123-mile-hour train, the Deutsche Bahn ICE, to Munich. Now, trains in Germany run suspiciously on schedule and without issue. I swear they probably run on magic. Anyway, besides Munich's wonderful beer gardens, the next best site was the Deutsches Museum Verkehrszentrum, which loosely translates into German Museum of Transportation. It's like if the Smithsonian had a air and space museum, but for cars, trains, motorcycles, and also bikes. Now, I won't go into great detail about what all is here because you could probably spend all day here. I know I did. There is just a fantastic array of strange and historic machinery all here. But I will talk about my top 3 favorite cars. Number 3. This 1955 Mercedes-Benz 300 SLR is an example of one of the most successful sports cars in history. A similar car was driven by none other than Stirling Moss to win the second running of the Mille Miglia. Juan Manuel Fangio, who many say is the greatest race car driver of all time, came in second, also in a 300 SLR. Powered by a 3-liter inline 8-cylinder engine producing somewhere around 310 horsepower, in coupe form it could hit 186 miles per hour. Now for 1955, that was incredibly quick. Sadly, it was a similar 300 SLR that careened into the crowd of the 1955 Le Mans 24 Hours, killing 83 spectators. This is an accident which changed sports car racing forever. Number 2. This Auto Union Type C Grand Prix car held a monstrous 16-cylinder, 6-liter supercharged engine that put out 520 horsepower, and the whole thing only weighed 1,800 pounds, which is about 700 pounds less than today's Fiat 500. Now this was enough performance to claim the 1936 Grand Prix Championship for Auto Union. It may not have been the most successful Grand Prix car of all time, but it certainly was one of the most beautiful, and one of the most rare given that most auto unions had been claimed by the war. Number 1. And the winner goes to the granddaddy of them all, the 1886 Benz Patent motorwagon. This beauty is the world's first functioning automobile with a conventional gasoline engine. Small but mighty, it was powered by a single-cylinder, water-cooled 1-liter engine producing just shy of 1 horsepower. And this example is the number 1 model, the first model Carl Benz ever built. The third model he built was carjacked by his wife, Bertha Benz, who drove it like a gangsta on the first road trip ever, where she refueled it at drugstores, troubleshooted the carburetor with a hat pin, fixed electrical problems with her garter, and straight up invented brake pads on the fly. Her epic road trip lasted 121 miles, making her a legend. Seriously, look up this lady. She is stone cold. After the Transportation Museum, I hopped on another ICE and headed to Berlin, where I visited a toilet. Now, I have to say this, the public toilet pods are weird. You put in your money, and you go into this odd-smelling spaceship-looking thing, and you do your business while this, kind of weird music plays in the background. So, what happens if the time runs out while you're in there? Well, hell if I know, but I was kind of half expecting the doors to kind of, fly open while you're on the crapper. Anyway, so there's your typical tourist spots in Berlin, like, Checkpoint Charlie, which is located right next to McDonald's, in case you had no idea whether capitalism had won the Cold War. But just a couple of blocks away from the checkpoint is where real East Germany lives, in the Trabi Museum. Trabants were East Germany's finest automobile exports, which sometimes didn't even run when brand new. But Trabant is a story of perseverance, a band of engineers and machinists who were sabotaged equally by the capitalist West and the communist East, and still put out a car, by God. Where's the metal? It's in Austria, because the US redirected the shipment. Where's our tools? Moscow stole them for a car factory in Russia. Well, to hell with it. We're going to make body panels out of cotton fiber and epoxy and call it Duraplast. It'll be great. And, well, it was, for what it was. Then it was time to leave to the final destination of the trip, beautiful Copenhagen in Denmark. Now you say, Denmark? The place that abandoned cars for much more convenient, much more reliable, and much healthier bicycles? Yes, my friends, that Denmark. You see, my dear viewers, you don't have to exclusively like cars to be a gearhead. You can just as easily worship at the altar of the utilitarian yet infinitely customizable bicycle. And worship I did. Somehow I stumble into Copenhagen's Latin Quarter and straight into Sögreni, which has been constructing finely crafted pieces of art, which happen to be bicycles, since 1981. Each Sögreni bike is handmade to the specification of the owner, much like how high-end cars are ordered from coach builders. The saddles, handlebars, rims, fender materials, all of it can be specified, and the materials and workmanship are top shelf. They're also known for accessories like these bells, which are also made from the same colorful variety of materials as the fenders. Well, that bell unfortunately means it's the end of the road for us, the end of this trip. But I want to thank you for joining me. I hope you had a good time. I know I sure did. Big shout out to H2 Motors for letting me poke around their shop, showing me all the sights. It was really cool. Hope to return someday. But in the meantime, if you have any tips for visiting Europe as a gearhead, Germany, Denmark, wherever, go ahead and post those in the comments. I would love to hear them. I'm sure other people would love to hear that advice as well. So I'm going to get back to working on my car. But in the meantime, I'm going to play us out with some B-roll of footage and photos that I didn't really have an opportunity to use. So hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you down the road. Thanks for joining.